I am Eon, and it is time to look ahead at July 2025 Fantasy Review, or what's coming. Arbiter Miniatures, for the month of July, will be doing Halflings. Artisan Guild will be doing the Infernal Legion. Here we see some Infernal Ravagers, Infernal Warbeast Riders, Moloch, the Scourge of Inferno, Asmodeus, Varus, Asmodeus's champion, and Draken Zestarat, Devourer of Worlds. If you're a member of their guild hall, then you get these Infernal Ravagers with gun and sorcery as an exclusive. Archvillain Games for July will be doing the Rites of the Frontier, Hordes of Wrath. Here's the Gore Shrine of Koth, Gore Fiend of Koth, and the Gore Serpent, Slay Fiend of Koth, Gale Winterdam. We'll come back and look at more. This is just a preview of what you will be getting in the month of July for most of these creators. BattleYak Miniatures has a Kickstarter, I believe, coming, the British Army of the Peninsular War. This launches July 1st. Can't remember if this is a Kickstarter or a Frontier. BattleYak Miniatures has given us a preview of what's coming in both in July, August, and in September. We're going to focus just a little bit with the previews they've given us for July. These are early renders and are likely to change, of course. The Beholder Miniatures has given us a pretty big preview. We'll look at this in more detail once July starts. Evergreen Elves Meadow Riders. These are nice elven cavalry. I really like these models. Evergreen Elves Glade Avengers. Glade Avengers with Mask. Wouldn't you call that a glaive? So they're Glade Avengers with a glaive. Here the Death Dancers Command Group. I believe we got the Death Dancers in another month, and I feel like this guy should be called Rufio. Rufio. Dwarven Kingdoms, Cromner the Rune Scryer. The Iron Spitter Ballista. I almost didn't see that guy in the seat there. The Octobeard Fest Chariot. And Lord Hymneskur, the Stormwolves' Great Commander. He comes with helmet or without. Shield and sword, hammer and torch. Belxasar has given us a preview as well. We have Thunderforged Legion, Elaris Skyrest, and a Thunder Dragon. And again, for most of these, we're only looking at a few of these. We're not looking at every single thing for the preview. Here we have a Skywatcher. Comes in multiple sculpts. A Thundercaller. A Thunder Hammer. Thunder Hoofs. I don't know we could call that a hoof, could we? More like Thunderclaw. Bestiarum Miniatures has given us a little bit of a preview. Now, first off, as one of the viewers pointed out to me, I believe that was Overboard, they are changing their pricing tier. They are changing their Patreon, their tribe. Starting in August, they'll be moving to one themed collection instead of two. And this will long-term sustainability. I can't blame them. I think having a little bit more focus will probably do better for them. And they do have a $10 tier and more on the $14 tier. So if you're really interested in Bestiarum, be sure to check out the information on that. They have given us a little bit of preview art for July. You'll see the fishwives and the children of Saltwitch. Bite the Bullet Studios is doing Kobolds Part 2. I feel like we've already had a Part 2, but maybe I'm wrong. And again, once July hits, we'll look at this in a lot more detail. Blackcrest Miniatures is doing Undead Kinku. So here's a few early renders. I believe there's a necromancer involved, and that's why some of them are rising. Cast and Play in the month of July will be doing Night Dagger Rogues. We'll look at a few of these. Steampunk is often overlooked, in my opinion. Cyclops Minions. He's probably looking for Nobody, if you are familiar with the Odyssey. Claudio Casini Art has the T-Rex, a Jurassic miniature. Frogfolk Ranger Archer. Female Monk Panda Folk. Bearfolk Bard with Loot. Several different races of swordsmen. Claybeast Creations has given us a preview. I believe these are called Eilings. And I didn't mean to click that, but that was whatever. CobraMode has given us a small preview. Blathrian, the Transformed Mage. Crippled God Foundry, as I was putting this together, came up with their preview of the Jungles of Cholt. Isn't that from Forgotten Realms, or am I thinking of something else? The Jungles of Cholt, we have some terrain as well as adventure. Here's Sha'ira and Corin Vec. Sithra, Sorceress Queen of Cholt, and some Terra folk. Fang Tribe Lizardmen and Triceratops, along with some other miniatures. Dice Heads for the month of July is doing the Smolderkin Guild. I didn't really have a chance to parse what was what from this release, so hopefully I can do that for the first video of July. DM Stash is going Pirates for July. A great summer topic. Blood on the Sails. Here's Bossman Bill, Master of the Hurdy-Gurdy. And Baz Smiley Armstrong, a Sharkman Enforcer. Here's Baradin Blackbeard, Captain of the Gilded Seahorse. Trixie Sureshot Kelpie, Pirate Gunslinger, maybe part Tiefling? Snippy, the Blade Claw Crab. Irvin Wave Dancer Barton. Order Alemi Scoundrel, I'm not sure what that is. Old Mogren, the Ancient Leviathan of the Deep. We'll be sure to check more of that out come July. Dragon Trapper's Lodge for the month of July is doing Secrets of the Silkbound, which seems to be an insect-themed release, and the Crimson Inquisition Part 3. So for the Silkbound, and just a small preview of what's coming. Would they refer to their stuff as Mantis style? their form, I suppose I would say. The Crimson Inquisition Part 3. Dragon's Lake Miniatures is going with something different this month. Tyrant of the Underworld Demons. There's a Crimson Lord and Tyrant of the Underworld. Some Rippers. And Butchers of the Abyss, along with a command group. And a Gullet of Desolation. Duncan Shadow has put out a bunch of animals, buffalo and bears, armored bears and bulls, lions and musk ox, skunks and giant snapping turtles, giant caterpillars and hellhounds, or the Hounds of Anwen. These are sheepfolk. And they also come as a multi-part kit. Some warhounds. Dungeon Classics has given us their preview for the month of July, and they seem to be going with the vampire theme as well. Again, I don't have titles for these just yet, but it looks like we're going for several styles of just vampire. Of course, not far from vampires are werewolves. Dungeon Dog has given us a look at the Barlgura. This is version A and version B, as well as a Barlgura Chief. Work in progress. Epic Miniatures update number 1 is going to be the Grand Carnival. And I absolutely love the fact that here's a miniature railway ride. Here's a miniature for your miniatures. Ferris wheel ride and octopus carousel ride. Clown party. There's about a half a dozen or more of these. Again, we'll look at these more once July hits. There's Mr. Sweets, the Candy Golem, and a half-elf bard. We're just hitting highlights here. Again, this is just a preview. Monkey Director and Conjoined Twins. The Bearded Lady, and apparently she comes in a version where she's clean-shaven, if you so wish. Here's the Giant Sloth Nomad. Comes with a version with a cart or where not. The Jester Girl and Goblin Tinkerer. Creepy Clown Construct and a Big Circus Construct. Flesh of Gods Miniatures is going to Hollow Thrones. Here's the Gargantuan release and the large release, Royal Tormentor. Vorus, the Dragon Despot, and a Minotaur skeleton. A Mourning Heart and a Nightmare King. Edravan, the Mad King. Is that somebody's head in his hand? Where did he get that? Seraph, the Spectral Queen, as if you need to be ghosted in your games as well. Balara, the Grim Princess, and she's got a head too. What is everybody trying to get a head here? And here's Shadow Ghoul, the Royal Channeler, and the Rotten Bishop. Crypt Knights. Cursia, the Moonlight Knight. Jester No More, and Bonvrick, the Oathbreaker. Does not seem happy about that. Vasil, the Silent Herald, and Gavric, Oathbreaker's son. As well as a couple of busts. Fleshcraft Studios has given us the look at the Barnaclaw Excavation. Reminds me of BioShock. There's an abyss-clad sloop. Forbidden Prince is putting out, looks like Elven Towers. Or something similar to that. I put them here in the fantasy, but I think they might be intended for sci-fi. But, I mean, whichever way. It's completely possible that I mixed the two up. Need to add those back to the sci-fi. Gamescape 3D is changing their pricing model, so might be time to jump in. Now, the thing is, if you do get their stuff imprinted, where are you going to store that? I mean, that thing is impressive. Completely playable interiors. Ghamak has given us some preview art for May, June. We're going into July, and in August we're staying with the Akai Shogunate and the Exiled Court. That is the plan for Ghamak for their fantasy releases. So here's what they're planning for July. And for the Exiled Court. Goetia Miniatures has put out the Beast Inside. So there's Lord Aventus, High Executor of the Church, and Madame Lavery. Tirana, the Warden of the Swamps, and Samdu, Manifestation of Matuzu. And Nanny Patty, the Swamp Hag. Feels like there should be a nursery rhyme with a name like that. Goonmaster has given us some previews of frogs riding ferrets. Lances or swords. Grey Grimoire has given us this one image of the month for July. The Dark Messiah will be the release. I like the fact that they are one of the cheaper options, but they still have very high quality, so they do fewer models, but they do them well. Hardwitch Games has given a few previews. Each of these models could easily be a centerpiece of your army, and I think they say that, and I could easily see each of these being just printed to be painted and put in my models video. Heroes Infinite, or is it Raging Heroes? I'm never exactly sure. Has put out today, actually, Wakura and Termagants in the Lands of the Crescent Sands. Here's Maharaka Nathanda, the Fertility Spirit. Al-Rahib, the Desert Autarch. Umkonto, Spiritual War Dancer. Layla Al-Kamar, the Desert Flame. Nasir, the Snake Whisperer. Kulikani, Hive Symbiote. Satia, the Mischievous. Makihi, the Wild Warden. Jabir al-Farrat, the Living Arsenal. Trichondric Gandrix, Juggernaut. Punga, the Swift Death. Nataba Piercer. Garganix Titan. Camelgriff Sentinels. Hive Termithids. So we're kind of almost getting sci-fi with those. A Camelgriff Fortress. And they will have some modular scenery as well. And they've got several other models too that we did not include here, because they often have variants depending on what tier you back them at. Highland Miniatures in July is going back to the Aegean Elves. Appears this phoenix, this bird, can either be a fire variety or a icy, frosty variety. Can we say Moltres or Articuno? Where's Zapdos? As well as this guy here. M3 Desion seems to be going both fantasy and sci-fi for July, so I'm going to include him in both videos here. But here's the preview image that we have. Kyoushuneko Miniatures has not given us any renders yet, but has given us some inspiration. So we can see here the types of things that we can come to expect. Viking Warband is a little bit different, isn't it? From everything else being sort of Eastern. Labyrinth Models in the month of July is doing vampires. The Death Knights. Remastered vampire characters. Vampires. She has hair or she doesn't have hair. Some blood cultists. They come in quite a few varieties. Last Sword has given us a few previews here of the Musketeers in combat and some Road Wardens. Some nice looking models. Black Powder Musketeers, and Landship the Rolling Fortress. Loot Studios has some early previews of Towers of Madness. Here we see Dagno Onyx Basher. Necrogorf. Zodira of Darkvale, the Crazed Mage. And she definitely does look a bit crazy. And Crazed Acolytes, along with several others. We'll, of course, be always looking forward to seeing what Loot Studios does. Mammoth Factory for the month of July is leaving behind what they called the Fateless Collection, which was the Disney Twisted inspiration. And here we are starting into another realm. This is a collection of 6 strange and untamed regions, the Farlands. So here are some concept arts for where they're going. I'm assuming these are like Dragonborn, Draconian inspired characters. Mammoth Props has given us some preview render art. It seems to be kind of demonic-ish, maybe? Thinking these are bookends. And maybe that's the other side. I am assuming these are like headphone accessories. Probably a dice tray. Mantic Vault has only put out the collective picture here. So we'll be coming back. A lot of goblins looks like for the fantasy release, as well as a little bit of Armada. Mantic Vault is one of my mainstays since I'm basically in there with the early bird price. I'm not going anywhere. Mini Monster Mayhem is on July 7th doing Red Dragon Crag. So we may not see that until review number 2 if I'm there. MOMMiniatures, I was doing this in a hurry this afternoon. For July, we have goblins. Lots of goblins. So I haven't had a chance to really look at these. Here we see the Goblin Shaman in Nunu and a Goblin Shaman. So these are kind of more classic style goblins, I would say. The long nose and all. Goblin Chief, Goblin Archer command group. Some Goblin Archers, command group of goblins with spears. Goblins with spears. And some goblins with just different weapons. And a Goblin Catapult. Shouldn't that be a rock catapult if they're not catapulting goblins? I am offended, though, with the dwarven heads on top of that thing. And a little cave. Cool. NPC Forge has given us a preview for the Gallows Mark, featuring Marshall Dravik Ashfold. I do like these small warband groups that these creators put out. NS is continuing with Tales of the Nyarlathotep. I know I'm butchering that title. So we're continuing with this Lovecraftian sort of theme. One Page Rules has put out a preview of dwarves. And I did not bother trying to title all these because I'm not exactly sure what everything is here. I believe this is for Age of Fantasy quests, but I'm not exactly sure. This could be a sci-fi figure, but I don't know. Maybe it's the sci-fi fantasy. For dwarves, we do have some more engineer styles. I believe this is a dwarf champion. And a dwarven cannon. This, I do believe, is the Duchies of Vinci fighter for Age of Fantasy Quest. Papal 3D has given us a look at the Shadow Men of the Mountain. And for their, what they call it, Mystic release, the Triple Trackers. I wonder who these guys are inspired by. Is he surfing on a shield? Huh. Parasite Collectibles is doing Grothnar, Warden of Ironfanged Bastion, also being featured with Helmaw and Black Bloodclaw. Those are some big boys. Printed Legends put out this preview of Void Parasite, our gargantuan void creature. Honestly, I think this could be fantasy or sci-fi, so we're going to put it here to look at. The Printing Goes Ever On has given us a look at their roadmap for the rest of the year. In July, we're looking at the Goblin Customizer. Note that their birthday is coming up next month. Punga Miniatures has given us a preview. Looks like we're going to be continuing with the Matadors, or something like that was their title. I put this in the wrong spot. Sorry, everyone. I thought I had this in here. This is the Printing Goes Ever On and Rolling in the Deep. There's the RPG tier. That's what I get for doing this in a hurry. I'll fix it for the regular one. Rescale Miniatures is giving us a preview of Pit of Pestilence Volume 2. And this is apparently a pestilent wyvern, and she is protecting her brood. RPG Figures as the Inquisition Executor. Sir Nicholas Miniatures has the Glacian Army, and I think these could go either fantasy or sci-fi. Sordane Publishing, for the July update post, has a Blink Dog and Fairy Dragons. And Inkato Aswang. Terrain Essentials has given us a little bit of a preview here, and they like to do these animated GIFs showing you how interactive their pieces can be. They'll be doing Tavern for the month of July. Threat Factory is going to do white, or whites. Of course, you have to have a barrow of sorts, or a mausoleum for them to inhabit. Titan Forge Studios is continuing with the Highborn Elves, but also introducing Arabian Knights. So here are the Highborn Elves. A couple of chariots, a champion, some polearms, and I suppose you would call that a ballista? Or bolt repeater, or something to that effect. For Arabian Knights, here he comes on the elephant. And a monkey, and they haven't released a list of models yet, so I'm assuming that's some type of djinn or fire elemental. We also have some troops. For the Titans of Adventure, you have these three folks that come in many different varieties, and they're really emphasizing that these are modular. You can exchange pieces as needed. And for the Mortal Enemies, you have, I guess she would be some sort of vampire, maybe? Look, she's got a head, too. What is it with everybody holding heads this month? And a couple of large abominations. We'll use a Warcraft term there. Traders Galaxy has put out Dwarven Monster Hunters as their preview. So a manticore, some dwarves, and a wizard. What more do you need? Twin Goddess Minis has this release for us for the month of July, featuring Shahana, the Furbolg Blade Dancer, Amber, the Furbolg Monk, Shmeggi, Goliath Wizard, Himbro, the Barbarian. I like the name. Obviously inspired by He-Man, Himbro. You can tell by the hairstyle in the second render there. Pommel, the Goblin Hammer Scout. It's quite the hammer. Warforged Swashbuckler. And Nadia, the Drow or Succubus, depending on which way you want to print her. Txarli Factory has rocks. The image on the right is scaled down. Ugni Miniatures has given us a look at the Northern Clans. Continuing, of course, the fantasy football crew. Or there's a warband for you. There's not too much football going on. Waywictus Minis has put out this July teaser. War Games Atlantic has given us a look at some Egyptian armies and Ottoman Sepai cavalry. Sepai. Tavern furniture set for the accoutrements. And Assassinid's War Elephant. I forget what the thing on the top is called. I didn't write it down. Hoto, something like that. Bisonites and some halfling halberders. Wow. Can't speak. I need to stop. French cuirassiers, 1870. White Werewolf Tavern is continuing with Cirque Phantasmagoria Part 2, The Rot Beneath. I should have put a background behind that. Sorry, my background doesn't work so well with that image. But Voltaire Vox, Sorcerer Spark and Steam, Mamet, the Marionette Maiden. These are just concept arts at this point. Gorvin Gristlehook, the Drift Meat Dealer, and the Green Behemoths. Behemoths? I only see one. And the Rotting Riders. Witch Guild is giving us the preview art of the Desert Druid Kai. Witch Song Miniatures has previewed the Fallen Overseer. And our final preview is World Forge. They are doing Elven Research Library. So really cool terrain if you want this. An Elven Research Library. There's a carousel to put the books on and rotate around. Places, several bookcases to store the books. Some tables where you can put the books to read the books. Or do things that need doing, like potions or brewing, alchemy, and such. Studying the leaves. And several different accoutrements to put around the library here. Well, folks, thank you for watching. We're going to see you pretty soon in July. Hopefully in a few days we'll have a much better preview of what all is coming. And hopefully I will not take about 3 weeks to get to the first review of the month. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.